We actually have some really good news today with the injury reports that we got to get through. First thing is Lamar Jackson gets in a full practice on Monday. This is very, very important because Lamar Jackson's game is on Thursday, but you actually have the head coach already coming through and saying that he fully expects Lamar to be out there on Thursday, and the Baltimore Ravens are currently favored to win the division. So super nice to see Lamar Jackson is back in. He'll be an auto start. Derrick Henry will be an auto start, as well as Zay Flowers. Nobody else will be interesting, though. Now, Kyle Shanahan says that Brock Purdy is not a long shot to play week 9. Does that mean we know for sure that he's going to be out there in week 9? No, but I mean, it's on the radar. Carson Wentz to undergo season-ending surgery on the left shoulder. So it's J.J. McCarthy, and they no longer have a safety valve. Tutu Atwell placed on the IR. Drake London and Michael Penix are both considered day-to-day. I would say these are probably going to be the most important injuries to make sure that we are monitoring this next 2 to 3 days, honestly, all the way up until Friday with the practice reports. Let's see if we have anything else here other than the big one, which is Puka Nacua is expected to play week 9. So if you have Puka, obviously this is the best news you possibly could have had. We are already kind of expecting this. For that reason, we did put Puka Nacua at wide receiver 1 in our rest of season ranks. And Quinshon Judkins is day-to-day with a sprained AC joint. Most likely means he's going to be back in week 10 after the bye week, but by no means is that a guarantee. We have a quote coming out of Carolina making it sound like Rico Dowdle is going to get a little more involved. Cedric Tillman's going to be expected to return in week 10. I am personally cutting Jerry Jeudy for the waiver wire this week. And then we have no update with Joe Mixon. Sounds like Mixon's not coming back this season. Brian Thomas Jr., they're saying that they aren't going to trade him. And then I think that's about it, other than the Michael Carter news that we accidentally skipped over, which is going to be that Michael Carter is released by the Cardinals. So we did move Bam Knight up a tier in our rest of season ranks. But I think this also probably speaks positively on the outlook that we have with Trey Benson's injury. And there's a real shot that Trey Benson is back this season. But let's go ahead and let's dive into what we have with some of these teams. And the first team I'm going to owe an apology to because we skipped over it on Sunday and Saturday because we were told it was a Dynasty team. The devs were looking into this for you, my friend. I didn't know why it was pulling in the redraft settings, but I saw that you shot Sammy a message today saying it's not really a Dynasty league. It's a 5-player keeper, which we actually have here down at the very bottom, which is what the site was telling us. I just wanted to make sure we had the correct settings before we looked into your team. So this will be the first team that we are going to dive into. Mr. Filthy Wubs is asking us what the pick'ems are for tonight. To be honest with you, my friend, I did not submit a pick'em slip. I did not see anything that I felt very confident with. Let me know if y'all did anything on Underdog today with the pick'em slips. I looked at it and was like, these are all pretty marginal. Nothing seems a way out of line for me. And the majority of the time I'm like, Underdog probably knows what they're doing. But let me know if any of y'all submitted a pick'em slip and what projections y'all currently like. This is what they are for tonight's games. And Desire Best likes the lower on Terry's projections. I mean, Terry's higher lower 44.5 receiving yards, higher lower 3.5 receptions, right? So it's not like they're projecting out Terry McLaurin incredibly well. But obviously, if y'all are not already on Underdog, the link's always in the description. It's always in the comment section. It's always in the live chat. Code FLOCK will get you $100 out of your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you'll get a free pick'em for tonight's game. It's going to be a free Patrick Mahomes pick, higher, lower, half a total yard. If you sign up after tonight's game, it'll be a different player for the Thursday one. But Underdog Fantasy is the #1 app in the App Store because they have the best promos in the industry. And at the same time, they're available in almost every single state. And if you use code FLOCK, you're going to be getting free questions for these live streams as well. And again, we are live streaming every single day, answering your questions until Christmas. So let's go ahead and let's dive into this all. We got tight ends for Dicker, 14-team, 5-player keeper league. Currently 5-2. What moves do you suggest to strengthen up quarterback or running back? We can move Pickens and Caleb for Mahomes and Terry. Feel good about the team, but worried about quarterback and running back production for the rest of the season. Now, this is a big thing that we need to set a baseline with, is that if it's a 14-team, 5-player keeper league, that's a lot of keepers. Most keeper leagues, I say, you know what? Just treat it as if it's a redraft format. You're always going to have enough players that you're wanting to keep year to year. But in a 14-team, 5-player keeper, that means we're going to have 70 players kept from season to season across the entire pool. So realistically, there is a good shot that you are struggling to find a 5th guy depending on the way that you build your team. But anyway, we are currently the number 1 team in terms of future value. We are 5-2, at least we were coming into this week. And we are sitting with a considerable amount of points. And honestly, taking a sneak peek at what we have with this roster, there's no way in hell that we are not currently sitting at 6-2 after this week based off the massive blow up that we just had with Breece Hall. But anyway, looks like we maybe already went out there. We made that trade to get Patrick Mahomes. What's going to be relevant as well here is this going to be a start 8 format. So a 14-team start 8 league. Depth here is going to matter a ton. It's not as simple as, oh, just go out there and pay every player that you have to get Jonathan Taylor, to get Christian McCaffrey, and then we can backfill from the waiver wire. No, the waiver wire isn't going to be super exciting. But anyway, quarterback, we have the elite option with Patrick Mahomes. Super exciting. Obviously, I would say in shallower formats, there's no reason for us to be stressing about what you have with ever starting a different player. I would say, though, 14-team league, if you were to get an injury to Mahomes, the waiver wire typically is going to be very thin. And at the same time, you have the week 10 bye for Mahomes too. So what I would probably do is I would go ahead and honestly, I would pick up Kyler Murray if he is just completely free. I think Brashad Smith isn't the worst player to drop for Kyler Murray, knowing that you do have Kareem Hunt back in healthy. And realistically as well, I don't think you have to wait for the waiver wire with that either, depending on your league settings, because I mean, Kyler was on bye. Brashad Smith hasn't played. So I think that is a move that you could make before this game even kicks off. Going over to running back, we have Breece, Swift, Woody Marks, and Kenneth Walker. So we have 4 viable running backs that we can start going into the future. And keep in mind, this is a start 8 format. So the running back depth's going to matter a lot here. If this was a 10-team league, I would say we should really, really focus in on finding a way that we can go ahead and hopefully package up where we sell the running back depth to get an upgrade inside the starting lineup. But that's not so much needed here based off how strong we are with the depth and it mattering in this league. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have 4 startable names. We are currently sitting with Rashee Rice, Rome Odunze, Jordan Addison, as well as Terry McLaurin. And again, I would say as well that if you were in a spot that you maybe didn't necessarily need to build around depth, maybe we go ahead and we try to sell Jordan Addison and DeAndre Swift to go get an upgrade at running back. But no, I like having the depth here in this kind of league. And then at tight end, we have Trey McBride, Brock Bowers. I know a lot of people would say, oh, okay, well, in that case, let's go through and let's sell one of these tight ends. And I would say that for the vast majority of teams with the vast majority of leagues, but yours specifically, I mean, you actually are in a spot where I wouldn't want to do that because it's a tight end premium league. So as we go position by position here, I actually think that you're in an incredible situation, and I am very sorry. I know that this doesn't help at all. I don't want to do anything. I want to cut Brashad Smith, pick up Kyler Murray so we have a quarterback for the week 10 bye for Mahomes. If you can find a team that's desperate for tight end and we send them Evan Ingram and Jordan Addison and get a wide receiver upgrade, or Evan Ingram and Woody Marks and get a running back upgrade, then yeah, we'll do it. But it's not necessarily something that we need to do, because the tight ends are viable to put in the flex spots, specifically in the tight end premium format. So long story short, my friend, I love your team. You're 6-2 for a reason. You're the number one in the league analyzer for a reason. I would just make that one waiver wire pivot and honestly call it a day from there. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here, but you really don't need it. Now let's move this over to our next team. This is going to be from Toffee Sir. Says, we did a startup this year and I've started a rebuild, but can't decide on if it should be 1 or 2 years. So here's my take on rebuilding. You never want to just map it out that far into the future. When you are a rebuilding team in Dynasty, your focus should not be, when you look at a player, when are they going to give me production? Are they going to be producing in 2025, 2026, 2027, or 2028? When is that production going to come? Your focus instead should be, what is their value going to be this offseason? If you just focus in on how we accumulate assets that are going to rise in value going into the offseason, aka rookie picks, injured players, then during the offseason, you have a lot of flexibility to go ahead and make moves as you see fit. But I think you're going to be doing yourself a disservice if you go ahead and if you try to plan it so far out into the future where you go, oh, okay, my year to contend is going to be 2027. So I need to just go through and get all players that are going to produce in 2027. Or, oh, I'm going to try to contend in 2026. So for that reason, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to buy players like A.J. Brown, expecting them to have a good 2026. You shouldn't do that at all. You should just think, how can I sell current value and get a piece that's going to accrue in value in 3 months? Or vice versa, if I have DeAndre Swift, I know Swift is going to be worth less this offseason than he is now, so I should go ahead and I should look to sell him. But anyway, here let's dive into the actual team itself. We are currently sitting in the 8th spot in the league analyzer. We are 5-9. We are putting ourselves in a position in which we are not going to get the 101 this next year with how this team's producing. I mean, this past week, you had Joe Flacco play well. I mean, hell, maybe you put Tyron Tracy in your lineup. You had Jamar Chase, George Pickens pop. So, like, if you're a rebuilding team, one of the very easy things that we can do is make sure that we are not winning games. That way, we can just get the easy pick improvement with our own pick turning out to be the 101, the 102. Now, of course, that doesn't mean, oh my gosh, Jamar Chase is producing, we need to sell Jamar Chase. Or, oh my gosh, JJ McCarthy is the starting quarterback, we need to sell JJ McCarthy. No, because those are assets that can hold a tremendous amount of value this offseason. So, if we were going to go ahead, if we were going to make moves on this team, I do think we need to be selling the short-term production, but I don't think you need to be doing so for, in regards of the young players that can continue to accrue in value, such as Jamar Chase, George Pickens. So the players that I think you need to throw on the block and you need to just get them off your team. Like if you're looking at, say, Joe Flacco, what's the upside of Flacco this offseason? He's not going to be worth a 4th round rookie pick. If you can sell Joe Flacco for a 2nd rounder from a team that needs him now, let's do it. Or if you can package together Joe Flacco and Tyrone Tracy, maybe the Cam Scattaboo team all of a sudden needs a running back, send him for a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It'll put you in a position where your own rookie pick becomes a lot more valuable, while at the same time, like, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is going to be worth more than Flacco and Tracy by the time we get to this offseason. Now, looking at what we have with the other options, I think Chase, Pickens, Tyler Warren, these are your building blocks. Just continue to accumulate those future picks. And also, obviously, Burrow is a big-time building block as well. But Burrow's like the perfect example of somebody that we do want to hold on to, because if we hold on to Burrow, he will accrue in value going into the offseason, while at the same time not making our own rookie pick worse. So let me go ahead and send you over a couple free trade questions just in case anybody has any counters of anything that we discussed. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here. Now let's move this over to Gridiron God. Says we lost Hampton and we had to trade him due to the record. We have ETN. I'm 2-5, but still fighting as 6 teams are 3-4 or worse. It is a super deep league, 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. So you can get a total of 5 wide receivers into your starting lineup. Should I try and trade for a running back 1? This league, you have to overpay to get one. I know I can get Kyron and Flowers for London. Another path to improve besides RB1. I would trade London for Kyron and Flowers in this kind of league in a heartbeat, regardless of if London was healthy or if he was or if he was injured or fully healthy. Doesn't really matter. Looking at the team in the league analyzer, we are currently 5th. We are 2-5 coming into this past week, but there's a good shot that we actually won it because we actually did start Breece Hall, I'm assuming, Jalen Hurts, I'm assuming as well. And obviously just having those 2 singular names, could really propel you to that win. But regardless of if you are 2-6, regardless of if you are 3-5, you're in this similar boat where you are just having to go out there and optimize for short-term production, making sure that we have points in the starting lineup right this second. Now, looking at quarterback, we are sitting with Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love. So if we have Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love, obviously if you could, actually no, I was going to say if you could sell Jordan Love, you would, but 1, nobody's going to buy Jordan Love for anything. And 2, at the same time, if we are looking at what we have with Jalen Hurts, he's in the week 9 bye, so we're going to need Jordan Love anyway. Okay. Now going over to running back, we have Breece, Etienne, Montgomery, Kamara, Kamani Vidal. So we have a bunch of startable running backs, but it's not like we have that true elite RB1 that you mentioned. Wide receiver, we have Rome, London, Keenan, Travis Hunter, Jacoby Myers, and then we have the elite tight end with Tyler Warren. But keep in mind, this is a league in which you have to start 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes as well. So if we go through and if we look at this, like Rome Odunze, Drake London, Keenan Allen are in our starting lineup at wide receiver when all healthy. Breece Hall, Travis Etienne are in our starting lineup at running back. But then you have like Travis Hunter and David Montgomery, Travis Hunter, Kamani Vidal, Travis Hunter, Alvin Kamara, or Montgomery and Vidal. But you have 2 of these players, and that just goes to speak of the depth that is actually required here, because you do have to start 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes weekly. So despite us not having that traditional elite level running back 1, or despite us not having that traditional elite wide receiver 1, I'm not exactly wanting to go through and wanting to up tier and quote unquote overpay to do so. I actually like building around the depth here, especially as we're dealing with somebody like Drake London that is currently banged up. Now, in terms of waiver wire pivots, I think that there are a couple easy ones to make, because you have enough depth if we weren't to make a trade that you're not going to be desperate at any point where it's like, oh, okay, you really need to go out there and you really need to make a play. Like, I think you just be simple. Let's just cut Matthew Golden. Let's cut Tyler Algier, pick up Tyrone Tracy and Zach Charbonnet. Like, Tyrone Tracy can turn into somebody that you are starting every single week without thinking about it. Now, in terms of any trades that would be on the menu, if we get another blow up type performance from Jordan Love in week 9 with Jalen Hurts on bye, then obviously in week 10, we would love to package together Jordan Love with any running back, any wide receiver in a 2-for-1 deal to go get an upgrade. But that is going to be much easier said than done. So realistically for now, I'm just going to keep it simple. I really like building around the depth with your league settings in particular. And for that reason, I think you just go ahead and I think you actually just cut Golden, cut Algier, or cut Golden. And I wouldn't cut Jacoby Myers because, again, it's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex league. But I would cut Golden, I'd cut Algier, and I'd pick up Tyrone Tracy and Zach Charbonnet. And the number one priority in that would be specifically Tyrone Tracy. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. And I'm going to go ahead and send you over a couple of free questions just in case there's anything else that you wanted to follow up with. Okay. Now let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be from Itachi. It says, not sure who I can trade for a solid wide receiver or any changes to make. Thank you for being awesome. Appreciate any feedback. Really appreciate you, my guy. We are currently second in the league analyzer in terms of value. We are fourth in this league in terms of points scored coming into this past week, but we were 3-4. So we're a little bit of an unlucky 3-4. So here's a league in which a depth isn't going to matter. I mean, we just talked in depth about depth. We just talked in depth with the previous team about depth mattering because they have to start 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. Here, you don't need to do so. Here, it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. The depth isn't going to be a priority, and what instead will be a priority is how do we up tier and how do we get some elite level names inside the starting lineup? Now, I can't tell if we won or lost this week. I mean, you had some players on this team that performed well. Somebody like Chase Brown, Rachaad White, disappointed though. Going over to wide receiver, you had Pickens. I don't know who we started between Olave, Tet, Waddle, and Quentin Johnston. So there is a couple different scenarios here. There's one scenario in which we lost this week, and we are currently sitting at 3-5. And there's another scenario in which we won, and we are sitting at 4-4. If you lost and you are at 3-5 at the moment, in my mind, I think it's actually going to be pretty important for you to go ahead and actually look at potentially trying to sell Bucky Irving and getting an upgrade at wide receiver by sending Bucky Irving and Chris Olave or Bucky Irving and Teteroa McMillan to just get the best wide receiver that you can in return. If you are 4-4 and you believe that you're going to end up getting Bucky Irving back after the bye, then maybe you go ahead and you hold on to Bucky. And in that case, what I'd probably be doing is I'd be trying to sell Chase Brown and Chris Olave, Chase Brown and Teteroa McMillan, and finding ourselves an elite level wide receiver. What you should do for this is target those teams that really need help at running back. Like this team has Kyra and Trevion, Isaiah Pacheco, so they don't have an RB2. However, they have some elite level wide receivers, right? Is there a world in which we could send Bucky and George Pickens and get to Jackson Smith and Jigba? Send Chase Brown and Jalen Waddle and get to Roma Dunse? In a shallow format like this, obviously the JSN deal is a no-brainer, but even the other one may make sense for you. This other team is Warren, Montgomery, Dobbins, Kenneth Walker. And maybe you can send them a George Pickens and Chase Brown and get Justin Jefferson. Send them Bucky Irving and Teteroa McMillan and get Justin Jefferson. This team's RB2 is Kenneth Gainwell. Maybe we can send them Bucky Irving and George Pickens to get to CeeDee Lamb. And then the other move that we're going to be looking to make on this is if we could if we could just cut Rachaad White and pick up Tyrone Tracy, with Rachaad White losing some of that work to Sean Tucker this past week. Obviously, picking up Tracy would be great. I will say, though, obviously, we don't exactly need him that badly just because we already have 4 incredible running backs. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. I'm going to go ahead and send you over some free questions just in case you get any counters to any of those deals that we're talking about. Be super happy to check them out or super happy to help you with starting lineup anytime you want, my friend. But again, thank you so much. Now let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be I'm him. Says, I'm 3-4 and I'm relatively new to fantasy. I'd like your take on the team. Should I make some trades to win more games? Thanks, man. Thank you, my friend. Okay, so we are 3-4. We have CMC on the team. So realistically, there's a good shot that we lost this past week. It's a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So it's not like depth is going to be the most important thing here, but it can't be completely neglected either. Now, one thing that's going to be very important to know in your league is if you are in a league with an IR slot. I know you're new to fantasy, but that will be something to monitor because if you have an IR slot in your league, you could just pick up Trey Benson, throw him in the IR, and he wouldn't even take up a roster spot for you. Now, I understand that we have Jaden Reed as well, so maybe he's already in that slot, but realistically, I think I would drop Tez Johnson and pick up that's besides the point because our number one priority here is picking up Tyrone Tracy. So the first waiver wire move you look to make is you cut Tez Johnson and you pick up Tyrone Tracy. That's the number one priority that you have in this league. The second priority that I'd be looking at is cutting Jaden Reed, picking up Brandon Ayuk. And if we have an IR slot, then just throwing Brandon Ayuk in the IR. Now, Sam Darnold is a quarterback in which I would say a lot of leagues, you don't need a roster him. I know we have Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has to go through the bye week in week 10. I'd say in a lot of leagues, you're going to be able to go through and you're going to be able to just stream quarterback in week 10. But specifically your league, there aren't really many quarterbacks on the waiver wire. So if you really wanted to hold on to Dak, I'm not going to fault you for it. I'm sorry, if you wanted to hold on to Darnold, obviously we would hold on to Dak. And then looking at running back, we have CMC and Javonte as 2 guys that we can auto start. Wilson, Olave, AJ Brown, Quentin Johnson, DJ Moore. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So the wide receiver depth's not too important. We have Cade Otton at tight end. We are 3-4 coming into this week. There's a chance that we're 3-5, especially with the CMC disappointing game. And it's not like Dak Prescott was great either. If you're 3-5, there's a real world scenario in which you need to throw Garrett Wilson on the trade block and you need to see if we can send Garrett Wilson and get a wide receiver that is a similar option in his range around wide receiver 14-ish on the site. Like I would send Garrett Wilson for Nico Collins if I had a losing record. I would send Garrett Wilson for Ladd McConkey if I had a losing record. I would send him for George Pickens. Obviously, Puka, but easier said than done. I'd send him for Devontae Adams if I had a losing record. But I think you would have to sell Wilson, especially knowing that, one, he's about to go through the bye. AJ Brown's going through the bye at the same time. If you're 3-5, you really can't afford to lose this week. And the other thing that you could look at is if you're not going to be able to get a wide receiver in return, possibly going through and moving him for a tight end. Like going and getting somebody like Brock Bowers where the expectations are that Bowers is going to be back this week and already through the bye. Because there's no world in which I'm wanting to start Cade Otton. And also, Cade Otton's going through the week 9 bye anyway. So you're going to be put in a little bit of a tough spot. But first things first, you cut Tez Johnson, you pick up Tyrone Tracy. That's your number one priority. Then after that, you cut Jaden Reed, pick up Brandon Ayuk. And then you maybe try to send Garrett Wilson and either get back a viable wide receiver right now or get back that elite level tight end, especially if you are currently sitting at 3 and 5, and we really can't afford to fall to 4. I'm sorry, we can't afford to fall to 3 and 6. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. I'm going to send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with this team. Of course, I'd be happy to check it out for you. But we are about an hour away from kickoff, so we're going to pivot over and get to some of the fast questions real quick. These are going to be the start set questions. These are going to be the trade questions, etc., etc. But it does look like we have to send out some free questions in the chat. We just hit 100 likes on the stream. So, of course, if you want to qualify for free questions, it's really simple. All you got to do is go down there, drop a like on the live stream, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the live chat. It's as simple as that. And then we'll go ahead and pick somebody to send those free questions over to. And then also, you already know that you can always just get those questions for free guaranteed by taking advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy, where if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you'll be able to get a free Patrick Mahomes pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for today's game. Underdog Fantasy is the #1 sports app in the App Store because they're available in almost every state. They have the best promos in the industry. Code FLOCK will get you free questions for these live streams, free pick for tonight's game, and $100 added to your account after you play your first 5. But let's send this over for Shene. Let me see if I can find you on the site, my friend. Appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream. Okay. Oh, this is Shane H. I'm an idiot. I just sent you over that free trade question. Again, I appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream, my friend. Okay. Now, this is Lloyd trading Barkley, Judkins, Marr for Puka and Kamani Vidal. 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. We have enough production of running backs, so hell yeah. I think you actually do this. I think you get the best player in the deal, which is Puka Nacua. Now, JC33 trading Barkley, Jalen Waddle for Brees, Bucky, and Rashad White. Okay. I have Barkley on my team. Would I do this? Probably not. Actually, it's a 14-teamer. You may have to. Right now, we lost Cam Scattaboo, and it's a 14-team league. I guess Bam Knight actually looks viable now, potentially. After you'd make this trade, wide receiver, we'd have Rice, Keenan, and that's it. Here's what I would do. I would not do this deal. But if instead of trading Waddle, you could potentially sell Gadsden, then I would love it. Then I would love it, my friend. Okay. Now, Chase B trading A.J. Brown for Jake Ferg. We have CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver. We have London as well. Rome Odunze, so we're perfectly fine. Tight end, you have Hunter Henry. I have A.J. Brown higher in my rest of season ranks, but 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Wide receiver depth's not going to matter. You have incredible wide receivers. So simply, you can just afford to do this. So, yeah, I think you probably make the move. Okay. Let's move this over to our next question. This is from Rice. A running back between Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt and Brashad Smith today. You play Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excited about him. But realistically, I mean, he is the starting running back in his backfield, where Brashad Smith, now that Kareem Hunt's playing, is the RB3. Okay. Now, Vexa says down by 11 and we need a W. Opponent just started just has the KC defense, leaning Debo, but would love your thoughts. So if you're down by 11 and your opponent has the Chiefs defense, we essentially need a player to score about 20. And preferable, like we're an underdog. So preferably I would want my player to have negative correlation to the Chiefs DST. I do not want it where if the Chiefs DST does well, then my player does well, because if the Chiefs defense balls, you probably lose anyway. I'd probably want it where, if the Chiefs defense performs poorly, my player performs well, and I have a shot to win the matchup. And if we are choosing between Deebo Samuel and Isaiah Pacheco in that instance, that setup is one for Deebo. So I think you go ahead and you take Deebo Samuel. Okay. Now, Bodie Roll trading London for Nico and Judkins. This is Nico Collins and Judkins for me easily. Giuseppe says we have one 2028 first and 220. Okay, so here's something that I need to put in context. I am one that hates, and I love Dynasty Fantasy Football. I've been playing in Dynasty League since 2014, so for over 10 years. But this is a big trend that was not a thing back when Dynasty was almost exclusively on MFL back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. But it's been a trend since all these new Dynasty leagues are on Sleeper. I hate talking about trading picks away from 2028 when we are in 2025. It is absurd in my mind. Where if a team has to trade away a 2028 pick, they shouldn't view themselves as a contender. It will ruin Dynasty leagues. It just turns teams to dust. So like when you're saying like, I have a 2028 first, you better have your 2028 first. Okay. You have a 2028 first and two 2028 seconds. Craft owner wants one future first and 2 seconds in contention with my current tight ends. So you're saying the craft owner wants, we have Hawk Kelsey. Would I rather have a future first or Tucker Craft in a third in a tight end premium format where I'm a contending team? You can take Tucker Craft. Would I rather have the future first and 2 future seconds or Tucker Craft? I'd probably rather have the future first and 2 future seconds. So I'm a little bit confused by the way that this is written, but how the trade's laid out here, I think you can go with Craft, but I'm not wanting to add a bunch of second rounders to it as well. And for the love of God, never consider trading your 2028 picks. I'm sorry to be an ass when I say this, but if you are trading your 2028 picks, you're not a contender. You shouldn't need to trade your 2028 picks to be a contending team in Dynasty. Now, Jubilant Lender is trading Lamb for Bo Nix. Yeah, I mean, at this point, we have Bo Nix higher than Lamb in our... I'm sorry, we have Caleb for Bo Nix. We have Bo Nix higher than Caleb in our rest of season ranks. Okay. Now, Lightning Rules trading Brees and Puka for Javonte and JSN. I have Puka over JSN rest of season. I have Javonte over Brees rest of season. So for me, I think that this is a personal preference. I'm not going to fault anybody for going in either direction here. I think it's up to you, to be completely honest. Okay. Now let's move this over to our next question. This one's the one and only, trading Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for Kamani Vidal. Yeah, we kind of need running backs to start right now, so I think you can make this play if you want to. For me, I think I would rather have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in the fantasy playoffs. I'd rather have Kamani Vidal over the next few weeks. So it just kind of comes down to what you need. If you don't need anybody to put in your lineup for the next few weeks, I'd probably go with the long-term upside of JCM. But if you really need a running back to start next week, Kamani Vidal will be higher in my weekly ranks. So I think it's going to be up to you. Now, Gordon trading Achane, Tedero, McMillan for Barkley and Nico. We downgrade at running back to upgrade at wide receiver. I have Barkley and Nico Collins on my own team. Would I trade them for Achane and Tet? Achane's not through his bye either. I'd probably rather have Barkley and Nico, but I'm very biased. I have both those players on my team. Okay, so Sean says trying to contend, big loss due to buys and the IR. So Golden to Waddle. Dynasty, obviously, Waddle's going to give you a better shot at contending right now. I think Golden has a little more long-term value. Loveland versus the second. I'd definitely rather have Loveland. So value-wise, I'm going to go with the Golden side, but I completely understand if you wanted to make this move. And I think we're going to have to log out and log back in to keep this show going. All right. Okay, let's pivot this over. Okay. So, yeah, I think value-wise, I'd rather have Loveland and Golden. Now, Probable Lamp says, get these two players, then trade for Hampton for the playoffs. Montgomery and Kyle Monungai since opponent has injuries. I have no idea what the hell you are talking about, Montgomery and Kyle Monungai, since opponent has injuries. In terms of the trade that you laid out, I think you're downgrading both spots. So, no, I'd much prefer Rico Dowdle and Chris Olave here. I don't exactly know what you mean, though. I'll send you over a free trade question. Again, what does Montgomery and Kyle Monungai have to do with this? And what does our opponent having injuries have to do with this? That's where you lose me. But we do get some positive news regarding Rico Dowdle's usage, with the coaching staff coming through and saying, like, yeah, Dowdle's been better than Hubbard, we know. So you're hoping that all of a sudden they actually do start using more Dowdle. Now, Beto trading Gibbs for Bijan, upgrade. Tyler Warren for Kraft, downgrade. I think it's a fair deal. I think it's going to be up to you. Power Branch trading Barkley, Garrett Wilson for Jefferson, Montgomery, and Benson. Barkley to Jefferson, lateral move up to you. Wilson to Montgomery and Benson, I do think it's a downgrade. I probably need to move Benson up our rest of season ranks because I do think them cutting Michael Carter does speak positively on the rehab for Trey Benson. And God, if Trey Benson came from the depths to help our best ball teams this year, I would love him forever. We're going to move Trey Benson up to RB 38. Okay, but Garrett Wilson versus Montgomery and Trey Benson, I'd rather have Garrett Wilson. So probably going to take the Barkley and Garrett Wilson side. D. Steezy. Says 9th place, second year team, need advice moving forward. 9th place team, probably looking to rebuild. I'd rather have JSN over Jahmyr Gibbs. I'd rather have Harvey over Downs. I'd rather have the first over the second. So if you can make this deal, I would 100% want to. Now, next one's going to be Isaac. Trading Pollard and Nico for Drake London. For me, I have Nico and London ranked back-to-back. Pollard's effectively a 0. So it's just going to be up to you. Like, realistically, if you are looking at this, I think I would rather have London for sure over Nico Collins if we knew for a fact that both London and Michael Penix were going to play this week and they were healthy. But you need both of them. Not like both the quarterback and London himself are injured. It's not like we're just dealing with one of these. So I think it's going to be up to you. And again, I would view Tony Pollard as a 0. Okay. Now, Gooey Louie trading Keenan and JCM for Ash and Genty. I would take Genty here in a heartbeat. Banner Hornet, always happy to see you, my friend. Let me make sure you got a bunch of free questions. Says, was offered ETN. Is he worth it at this point? We have 2 ETN, not broken 10 in 3 weeks. What's his outlook? Yeah, so I know that Travis Etienne's been horrendous over the past 3 weeks. 8.8, 9.5, 6.5 points. He has had double-digit opportunities over the past 3 weeks. He is averaging about 15 opportunities a game. I have Travis Etienne on my team. I'm ranking him as a mid to a low-end RB2 rest of season. The concern that you also have is Byshell Tutin's going to expand his role in the second half of the year. I probably do need to go ahead and move Rico Dowdle back up our rankings based off the coaching staff's comments today. I still think I'd probably keep Etienne ahead of him, though. So I probably would do this deal myself. Like if I was offered Rico Dowdle for Travis Etienne right now with my fantasy team, I think I would just reject. Because the Etienne workload has looked better and you can't always trust what the Carolina coaching staff tells us. Or any coaching staff for that matter when it comes to their running back usage. And we've seen it with Travis Etienne where he's a lock to see double-digit touches every week. So I would go Etienne here, but I could very easily see us being wrong. I could very easily see this being the Rico Dowdle. And now Big A the Don says, we have Gatson, need help at running back and wide receiver. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are Trey Tucker's not any better than you just going to the waiver wire and picking up a wide receiver every week to stream. I would personally sell Travis Etienne for Tyler Warren in a heartbeat. And honestly, maybe that's an offer I got to make. I wonder where Zach ranks these guys because I know he just traded for Tyler Warren. Let me pull that up. Is that a trade that's possible? Maybe I look to, because I know he also has. Yeah. I may go out of my way and I may try to send Travis Etienne for Tyler Warren myself. And I don't see like the difference maker here being Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker, since he had the one good week, has scored 4, 11, 12, and 8 fantasy points. So I think Tyler Warren's the best player in this, to be honest. Now, Kavu is trading H.N. St. Brown for CMC and Nico. I'd rather have CMC. I still think CMC's in a different tier. I know he gave you a bad week this week by only scoring about 9 points. But that's a bad week for Christian McCaffrey. 21 Jaden trading Dart, who's actually it's a 14-team league, so we're going to have to take the... Actually, If this is a 14-team league, then obviously it's going to come down to, do you have another viable quarterback? Because a 14-team format like Dart very easily could be a difference-making option for you, the way that I don't view him in a 10-teamer. But I think for most leagues, I'm going to go with Tetero McMillan here. My only hesitation is if it's a 14-team league where the depth is harder to come by and you don't have a lot of depth, I could very easily see the package being the winner. Now, Tristan trading Jefferson and Bowers for JSN and Kincaid. Jefferson to JSN upgrade, Bowers to Kincaid downgrade. Kincaid didn't play at all this past week. I don't know if it was due to his injury. I have no idea. But Kincaid doesn't look startable until we see otherwise. JSN does appear to be in a different tier than Bowers, though. You know, we have Kraft. Who the hell cares about Kincaid? Yeah, if you have Kraft, you go ahead and you make this deal. Yeah, go get JSN. Now, Dynasty here at running back. Brees has the week 9 bye, so it's going to be Aaron Jones or Kyle Monangai. You'll play Aaron Jones. And then in the flex, I'd probably plan on going Khalil Shakir, but I'm going to be honest with you, Chief. I am going to change my rankings a ton from right. I don't even have my rankings set. It's not super easy for me to just give you a gut reaction with how we want to rank players for week 9 when we haven't been able to do the research for the slate yet. Now, ICU Figo is trading Metcalf to Tetero McMillan, lateral move. Worthy, Jalen Warren, and T. Higgins for Jefferson. It's a deep format. It says it's a start 10 league. After this, you would have Jefferson, Igbuka, Rice, Puka Nacua, Tetero McMillan. So 5 startable receivers. Gibbs, Javonte, 2 startable running backs, 2 quarterback league as well. Yeah, so you can make this team and you'll have, you can make this trade and you'll have the best team in the league and won't even be close. Okay. Now, Jordan with this next one. Here for the bench, our best option in week 9 would probably be Alec Pierce. And Alec Pierce and Kayshon Boutte are both the same guy. You're just hoping for the big play in the touchdown. Now, Nasab says, should I down tier from Allen to get more future running back help with Scat or keep Allen since I'm contending? Okay. Let's be on the record right now. Cam Skattebo is a day 3 running back that had a solid stretch of games that was super exciting. But at the end of the day, he is not guaranteed anything in the future, the way that Josh Allen and Drake May are. Cam Skattebo is and Shamir DK are such small pieces in this. I always use this analogy, especially in Dynasty. If you're trading Josh Allen's like a Lamborghini. Drake May is like a Corvette. You're like, hey, should I trade this Lamborghini for this Corvette? Also, let me tell you, the Corvette has one of those pairs of fuzzy dice that hangs from the whatever the hell it's called, the window thing that shows you the back, the rear view mirror. It's like, oh, the rear view mirror has the hanging fuzzy dice. My friend, it doesn't matter at all. What matters is, would you rather have the Lamborghini or the Corvette? The fuzzy dice make no difference whatsoever in this trade. For me, I'd rather have Josh Allen over Drake May. So I'm going to take Josh Allen here, especially if you're contending. Now, the Magic Skull Bus is trading Taylor to down tier from Gibbs, Kraft to lateral move to Ferg, and we're picking up Tetero McMillan. Jonathan Taylor is a completely different tier than Jahmyr Gibbs, so you go JT. Now, J. Tom's trading J-Mo and Matthew Golden for Stephon Diggs. We are trading 2 unstartable wide receivers for a barely startable option. It's up to you. How excited would you be to backfill with the depth piece from the waiver wire? Like, if there's a name that you'd be excited to pick up off waivers, then sure, go for it. But if it's hard to find replacement level players in your league, you'd probably rather just have the depth piece. Okay. Now let's refresh this, see if we have any more questions. Mr. Filthy Bubs, always happy to see you, my guy. 5-3, most points for, and our wide receivers are mid. Trade for Thomas or someone in a better spot. Guy is the number one in his wide receiver room. Josh Downs isn't startable. Let's just be on the record here. Josh Downs' fantasy points this season: 3, 11, 5, 6, 11, 16, and 12. So it's, would you rather have Terry McLaurin or Brian Thomas? I'd rather have Brian Thomas. Clearly, Brian Thomas isn't the player that you draft. He was drafted in round 1 or round 2 to be, similar to Nico Collins. But similar to Nico Collins, I still do think that he has upside. Terry coming off significant injury. Daniel's injured. Terry's done nothing this season. So let's go for it. Okay. Now, JM Westy, 2-6. Bowers would replace Shakir in my flex if healthy for Igbuka's week 9 bye. Tracy's my RB3. Yeah, you got to do this. Like if we're looking at what we have with Igbuka, he is still a locked and loaded wide receiver 1 rest of season. I understand he's been disappointing over the past few weeks, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that, I mean, he's playing through a serious injury. Remember, the second that he had that hamstring strain, we were thinking that he was going to be missing all the way through the bye. It was a surprise that he ended up playing. Now let's check this team out for Bekele 101. We're the trash man. We are 5-2 coming into this week. We had scored the second most points in this league, but we have the most value on this roster. This is a start 9 format. So the assumption with the start 9 format for me is always it's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex league. If that's not the exact case, it's not the end of the world, because the fact of the matter is, kind of regardless, we want to be building around depth because we can put a tremendous amount of wide receivers inside our starting lineup. Now, looking at quarterback, we're rostering 3 guys. And you know what? Looking at the fact that there's nobody out there on the waiver wire and there are other teams everybody's rostering 3, 4 quarterbacks, I'm actually going to assume that this is a super flex league. If it's not a super flex league, it's a little bit weird that everybody's rostering 3 of them. But kind of regardless, we are sitting pretty, right? We got Mahomes. We have Fields. We have Tua as a quarterback 3, just in case Fields does get benched again. And having Patrick Mahomes here gives us a ton of flexibility, so we're not stressing about quarterback kind of regardless. Now, going over and looking at running back, we have Achane, Javonte, Nick Chubb. So we have 2 locked and loaded starters, not really any depth behind this. It's not necessarily a team in which we need to panic and we need to go out there and we need to make trades right now for depth running backs, because realistically, we're probably 6-2. And again, I think wide receiver depth is going to be incredibly important here. Going over and looking at what we have with the waiver wire options at running back, cutting Nick Chubb for Tyrone Tracy would kind of be a life-saving move for this team. Would absolutely love to do it if possible. Now, going over to wide receiver. Again, I'm going to assume that this is a league in which you can start like 5 wide receivers weekly. We have Lamb, Rice, Flowers, A.J. Brown, Debo, Waddle, T. Higgins. So we have 6 startable wide receivers, which if this is a league in which you can start 5 wide receivers weekly, we're chilling. We like the wide receiver depth. We're going to need it when you have guys like A.J. Brown missing, or next week when you'll have Rashee Rice and CeeDee Lamb on bye. So realistically, if we are looking at like the play here, I mean, if this is a league in which you can only start 3 wide receivers, then my gosh, you need to go out there and you need to sell A.J. Brown with Javonte Williams to get the best running back upgrade that you can. If it's a league in which you can only start 4 wide receivers, I probably still want to go out there and throw a wide receiver on the trade block like Jalen Waddle and see how we can upgrade running back. But instead, if you can start 5 wide receivers here weekly, then no, we're wanting to chill and we're not really wanting to do anything with this, to be honest. Now, going over to tight end, we have Tucker Kraft already through the bye week, so there's not much to do. So again, if this was like a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, then you need to go through and you need to sell some of these running backs to get wide receiver depth improvements. But based off the league analyzer telling us it's a start 9 format, I'm going to assume it's a league in which you can get a decent amount of these wide receivers into your starting lineup. And with that being the case, the only real thing that I'd want to do is you either cut Jameson Williams or cut Nick Chubb, pick up Tyrone Tracy and call it a day. Hell, you know what I'd probably do? I'd probably cut both Nick Chubb and Jameson Williams to get both Tyrone Tracy and Bam Knight now that you have Michael Carter Jr. cut. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. I'm going to go ahead and send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with. I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you. Okay. Now let's move this to our next question. It's going to be from Brash. Says, love my wide receiver room. Could maybe upgrade to a better RB2. Daniels being hurt sucks. Any trades I should make? Thanks, Mason. Thank you, my guy. Okay. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So it's just going to depend on how the value is constructed in terms of how many wide receivers on our bench are currently holding value in. Okay. Now, we are the number 1 team in the league analyzer, and realistically, we're not really going to want to make a trade here selling one of the big 3 wide receivers that we have. Because the expectations are you have JSN, you have Rice, you have Rome Odunze in your starting lineup every single week. Now, the thing is, you have a lot of depth. Like Gibbs is an auto start every week, and then DeAndre Swift or Chase Brown, you can go back and forth with RB2. So realistically, like as of today, you have Chase Brown, Woody Marks, Kamani Vidal, and Tedero McMillan on your bench if everybody is healthy in your starting lineup and nobody's on bye. So I think you 100% should be selling depth here. There are a couple different ways that you can go about it. This is a 12-team format, so this is honestly an incredible team. Like, obviously, we're chilling at quarterback. We're chilling at tight end. We have Daniels. We have Jake Ferg. We have Caleb to play until Jaden Daniels comes back, which I have to go up against the Jaden Daniels team this next week in my league, so I'm honestly kind of hoping that we have no Daniels selfishly. I know that's a very bad thing to admit out loud. But what I would try to do, honestly, is rather than sending like Tedero McMillan and Chase Brown or Ted McMillan and DeAndre Swift for a running back upgrade, I would try to send 2 running backs in a 2-for-1 deal to a team that has an RB1 with no RB2 to see if we can get an upgrade by selling our RB depth and consolidate into our starting lineup. Okay. Now, this team is Breece Hall, Trevion Henderson. So, I mean, hell, if I'm them, I would like another running back starter. Like, they're throwing Wan'Dale Robinson in their flex as well. I would offer them Chase Brown and Woody Marks, Chase Brown and Kamani Vidal, and see if we can get Breece Hall. This team has no running back one that we can upgrade to. Honestly, crazy to say, but I may go in the other. I mean, if we could send an offer, this team has a garbage running back room. They have nothing at running back, right? If we can honestly sell one of our running back depth pieces, go like Chase Brown and Rome Odunze to somehow get to Jamar Chase, we would do it in a heartbeat. This team is Barkley, and then nothing really beyond that with the Cam Scatterbo injury. So, hell, I'd offer them DeAndre Swift and Chase Brown to see if we can get to Saquon Barkley. This team is Genty, Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara, and that's it. I would offer them Kamani Vidal and Chase Brown to see if we can get to Ashton Genty. This team doesn't really have anything to upgrade to. This team has plenty of depth. This team has the depth. This team has depth. This team has depth. And yeah, so the issue you're going to have is when we get to these upper teams, right, that have better running back rooms, they're not going to need to make a deal like that. But let me see if there is anything else that we should consider doing with this. I love your team. I mean, again, League Analyzer has your team as by far and away the best one in the league. Realistically, you don't have a ton of wide receiver depth. I wouldn't be focused in on selling that. I'd be more so focused in on selling the running back depth and seeing if we can find a team that has that lack of depth at running back and where we can consolidate into just a higher tier RB1 or RB2. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Now, let's check this out for Nifty Backbone. Says, feel the need to upgrade at running back. Unfortunately, the Mike Evans injury ruined my wide receiver depth. Any advice on the best trade options? So the neighbors know my name. We are currently the 9th team in the League Analyzer. We were 5-2 coming into this week. Jalen Hurts blew up, so there's a chance we're 6-2, but honestly, kind of regardless of if we are 6-2, if we are 5-3, it's not a spot where we're desperate for wins right now. We can think about long-term upside. Now, we did just lose Cam Scatterbo, so you're actually put in a very difficult position, and that's why we are so low with the League Analyzer when it comes to actual value on this roster. Now, a couple different things. One, I'll say that we're going to be able to go through and we're going to be able to probably just cut Zach Ertz after this week because we'll get Trey McBride back from the bye. And not going to be super stressful where it's not like you're going to be in a spot in which you ever need to start Zach Ertz. And I would cut Zach Ertz, pick up Jacoby Myers. There's a real world chance that you end up getting Jacoby Myers traded from the Raiders, goes to a team like the Patriots, and all of a sudden turns into an every week starter for you. We're going to have another open roster spot because we just lost Cam Scatterbo. And with that open roster spot, I would pick up Sam Darnold because we're going to need a quarterback to stream for Jalen Hurts this next week. In a quick little glance on the waiver wire, it does look like you're most likely going to have Sam Darnold as the best streamer. Running back, we have Dobbins, Harvey, Trevion, Kamani Vidal. So at least we have Kamani Vidal and J.K. Dobbins to play in the short term. And you have to bank on the long-term breakout, hopefully from R.J. Harvey, Trevion Henderson. I would cut Brashad Smith if he doesn't do anything tonight for Byshell Tutin, who I think could expand his role coming out of the bye week while at the same time I mean, you do just have the elite ceiling if you were to get an injury to Travis Etienne. And then wide receiver, we have Lamb, Puka, Keenan. Not much depth beyond this. Depth isn't going to be the biggest priority, though, because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. And then we have the elite tight ends. And if this was a double flex format, I would say that we probably want to go ahead and we'd probably want to sell one of the elite quarterbacks or the elite tight end to get an additional running back starter. But for now, because you have a winning record, I don't want to panic sell them because the depth's not going to matter much either. And you're going to have some time to hopefully find a difference-making player coming off the waiver wire for you, because you are fortunate enough to have that winning record. So I don't really want to make any trades right now with this team. Obviously, the Scadaboo injury really ties us up where we don't have the depth to make upgrades inside the starting lineup, and it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, so I'm not really wanting to sell the options on the bench. I'm sorry, we're not wanting to down tier. We're not wanting to sell the studs to get additional depth. So I just simply cut Zach Ertz, cut Rashad Smith, cut Cam Scadaboo, pick up a Byshell Tootin, Jacoby Myers, and then Sam Darnold, so we have the replacement for Jalen Hurts this next week. But I don't think you make trades here. I really appreciate you. Let me send you over some free questions just in case you do see any trades or anything comes across your table. I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you, my friend. Now, let's move this over to our next question. It's going to be from Jesco. It says, Kyler and Amari and Hampton both in the IR slots right now. Could use Kyler as a trade surplus if Fields is a starter. Should I be worried with no scat? Are Woody, Trevion, Ramondre good enough at running back until Amarian's back? Should we start T Weekly as a flex? Thanks for telling me to keep JSN this season. Really appreciate you, my friend. And yeah, let's go ahead and let's look at this. I'm going to be honest with you, my guy. First thing with your first question is you're not going to be able to sell Kyler Murray for absolutely anything at all. Most teams I look at have Kyler Murray on the waiver wire. So don't get me wrong. If you're telling me Jalen Hurts is actually, we have 3 quarterbacks. So here's the thing. Lamar Jackson's back this week. They already told us. So you pick who you'd rather have between Kyler Murray, Justin Fields. And by all means, if you can go out there and send Kyler Murray and Woody Marks or Justin Fields and Ramondre Stevenson and go get a running back upgrade, let's do it. But the reality of your situation is probably not going to be possible for you, Chief. People are probably going to just ignore you if you offer them Kyler or Justin Fields. You can still try it, though. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Then looking at running back, we have Gibbs as the anchor already through his bye. We have Woody Marks, Ramondre as the RB2 contenders in the short term. We have Amari and Hampton and Trevion Henderson as long-term options. And you're 6-1, so we're fine chilling for the long term with the upside that you have with guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Amari and Hampton. So honestly, I would not panic at all at running back. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Wide receiver, we have JSN, Sutton, T. Higgins. So yeah, I mean, for the time being, it does look like you're putting T. Higgins in your flex, which isn't the best play. And then tight ends, I would probably cut either Dalton Kincaid or Hunter Henry, up to you, for Harold Fannin. It looks like your league mates know what they are doing on the waiver wire, though. So your options of picking up like Tyrone Tracy are just non-existent. So I think instead you are looking at probably just, sadly, with your open roster spot from losing Cam Scadaboo, picking up Kayshon Boutte. If you can trade a quarterback like Kyler Murray or Justin Fields just to get a depth running back that could potentially turn into I don't know. If you could sell like just for Tyler Algier, I mean, we would rather have a player like that on the bottom end of our roster that if injury were to occur in front of them, then all of a sudden they could turn into a league winner for our flex. But it's going to be much easier said than done. So yeah, we'll try to sell Kyler or Fields just for a depth running back. Cut one of the tight ends for Harold Fannin. With the open roster spot, pick up Kayshon Boutte. That's the open roster spot from losing Cam Scatterbo. And yeah, because you are 6-1, while your running back 2 is going to be a little bit weak with no Cam Scatterbo in the short term, in the long term, you're going to be in such a good spot with Amari and Hampton that I'm not stressing whatsoever. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And let me go ahead and I already sent you over those free questions. So if you have anything else that you want me to take a look at, I'll be super happy to look at it for you, my friend. But let me move over and see if we have any more of these quick questions to get to. We have Monk with this trade, trading T. Higgins for Rico Dowdle. I have Higgins at 68, Dowdle at 71 in my rest of season ranks, so they are very comparable. Wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Xavier Worthy, Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall, so we're great at wide receiver. And running back, we have almost nobody. So I think you can go ahead and make this deal if you want. I think if you look at the expert average rankings on flockfantasy.com, though, they would much prefer T. Higgins over Rico Dowdle. But I really appreciate y'all, and I'm probably going to call the live stream here so I can walk the dog before the game starts so I don't miss any of the game. But I think that's all I got. I really hope you won this week. It feels great to be a Nico Collins owner, to be honest with you. And yeah, I mean, my trades, I need to actually record a clip for the Flock League real quick. My trades that I made last week, I essentially turned T. Higgins, Stephon Diggs, and Cam Scatterbo into Rome Odunze and Nico Collins. So now that Cam Scatterbo is 0, I essentially turned T. Higgins and Stephon Diggs into Nico Collins and Rome Odunze. So I'm happy about it. But I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, and I really hope we get to see you out with the live stream after the game tonight.